Is over here sounding crazy. I hope you guys don't hear that. But hello, everyone. Hello, all of my 411 subscribers, and to all the gentlemen who still watch my channel, who are 45 plus. Hello. I'm so glad you guys find my content interesting. Thank you for continuing to support this channel and view and all the things that y'all be doing. Clicking it helps me grow. I wanted to get a little personal today, and this is going to be a little different, but I think it's very important to not only my development and my finding my authentic voice, but as a life coach as well, because I think it's important that being in alignment with people in your life that are supporting you helps your progress. So, for example, if I were to work with a therapist or a life coach that was a Catholic and had the viewpoint of a more traditional viewpoint, we may not mesh. She may not be able to help me reach my goals like I want to reach my goals, because she will have a different viewpoint of the situation, my response to things, events, especially people, and her advice is going to be tailored through the lens of her experience and through the lens of her beliefs. Now, I know that sounds a little like they really don't do that. They're more, it's got to be clinical, it's got to be based off their studies and stuff like that, but you just can't help your personal beliefs coming through. You just can't help it. And I will give an example as to why that is because if you think of a healthcare provider, if you felt like, okay, the I need my doctor. Yes, we need to work together for my health. But if I have concerns and reservations about vaccines and prescriptions, my doctor then shouldn't push their beliefs on me. The doctor should respect that that's not the route I want to take, and then support me in the path that I do want to take, and help me with the research, help me with the trial and error, help me with let me be in control of my journey to wellness and healing. Your job as a doctor is to, again, help me reach those goals and suggest alternate means. A lot of times they don't know the alternate means. They don't know the natural alternatives and things like that. So if that's not his background and it's definitely not something that he believes in, how can he or she, as my doctor, support me? It's going to be a clash in the service provided. And I'll never forget one time, not to get off track, but we had a doctor, and they sent me a nice little letter like, unless you plan on getting on this vaccine schedule, we will no longer be, providing services to families that are delayed or whatever you call it. What were they calling it back then? What is the word? But anyway, and I said, okay, thank you for letting me know that I am not a good fit as your patient anymore, me or my kids, so let it be known. So that's something to keep in mind, but you have to know where you stand in order to receive the help, and who are you receiving the help and support from. And so I share my personal feelings and experience as a life coach and as a woman of color, because I think it's important that other Black women and mothers know that there is someone out there that may identify as they identify, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, with their, standards and beliefs and their growth, and on and on and on. So I have some notes here so I stay on topic. And we are wearing black to represent the release and the embracing of our power. But this is about really being able to identify the goddess energy call in your life. Now, what is that? That is going to be this tug at your heartstrings and this pull to be your authentic self and give yourself permission to explore whatever it is you need to explore. And that is loaded, I know, but the more you give yourself the permission, the louder it gets, and you will not be able to ignore it. So it starts with realizing that you might be in a spiritual paralysis and almost like a stupor. So you might be doing things that you've always done. You were raised, with certain traditions in place or religion in place from your family. It's no one's fault. We're not blaming anyone. We're just calling it what it is. But at some point, it isn't enough for you. You still feel empty. You still have questions, but you're going along to get along because that's the way it's always done. This could be Messianic Hebrew. This could be Muslim. This could be Catholic. This could be Christian. This could be Methodist, Baptist, whatever. Okay? But something is missing. It does not fulfill you anymore. And you may be considering pulling away, or you have already pulled away, so you're not really doing anything at all, okay? You may have reflections on your childhood of things that you were drawn to that you don't even understand why you're drawn to. And I will use myself as an example because I was always earthy. I collected bugs, I collected rocks, I took pictures of mushrooms. I was always up in the woods, ashy, in a tree, taking pictures of mushrooms. Did I say that already? Collecting moss. I had baskets of little odd doodads. I don't know how my parents allowed me to bring all that stuff in the house. I always wanted animals. I always loved horses. I always wanted a dog. We didn't get a dog till I was much, much older. So to fill that void, I had fish. I tried to keep a baby bird that I stole out of a nest. Terrible. I kept a praying mantis, and I say all that to say I was always drawn to nature and animals, her babies, her children. So Mother Nature. I was always drawn to Halloween. We weren't allowed to celebrate that, so the next best thing was to do trunk or treat at a church where you could dress up as a Bible character or what you wanted to be as you grew up. A couple years of that, I was over it, okay? I always wanted to do other things, okay? And then by the time I definitely had walked away from the church because I had several experiences where I was like, okay, this is definitely not for me. And I think I shared that story in another video. If you guys want me to get into that story, please let me know. I'd be happy to share, and how I discovered a more African-centered spirituality. That is a separate story, but this is about the goddess energy, so let me stay on track. So I'm not in the church. I'm not doing anything, and I feel so much confusion, suppression, guilt of wanting to do something but not knowing what to do, not knowing where to turn, not understanding why it just wasn't the answer for me. And the first time I saw an African ancestral altar was at a Howard University conference. I bought tickets. That was my first time driving into DC. I'll never forget it. It was like making a giant quest, a huge quest, a mecca, so to speak. Driving into DC is a feat in itself. Parking, learning your way around, all of that, like following it's just a lot, especially on a weekend. So I did it by myself. I was so proud of myself. I made it on the campus, and it was this whole thing about I can't even remember what the conference was about, but it was very spiritually centered. And the altar was, it had to have been 6 foot long, and it had this beautiful fabric. It had cowrie shells and fruit and corn and baskets of grain and pictures of all these different people. I didn't even know who they were. Some of them were authors and, the greats, like Martin Luther King and different ones. But other people I didn't even recognize. They had the candles and the incense and a bowl of water. And I was just, it just literally took my breath away. So that tugged at my heartstrings. That made me like, oh my gosh, what is this? I want to do it. So I started practicing Kwanzaa, and I kept an ancestral altar. And looking back on my past relationships, the 2 past relationships where I lived with a man, I do appreciate that they were very open-minded, even though we didn't work out for other reasons. They never questioned my need to keep and maintain this altar. They didn't think it was weird. They didn't give me a hard time. And I think that's very important when you are considering dating seriously and bringing someone into your life. If you're going to invite them over, A, are they maintaining your home? But B, do they accept your altars and your spaces? But we'll get into that, if that's something that you feel led to do. But you should, because that's what this video is about, the goddess energy. Because the goddess energy also requires maintaining an altar of some sort, or a shrine, or a sacred space that keeps your focus on the feminine, keeps your focus on all things beautiful of the home, centered around you. And these things help us heal from such a separation of these things that give us this renewal feeling, this empowering feeling. And before I get off track, so when I say something was missing after the Kwanzaa, let me backtrack. When I say something was missing after the Kwanzaa and me trying to almost replace it with another religion, I really didn't understand that it's not a religion. It is a personal and spiritual lifestyle, not even a path. It's a lifestyle. And I had to give myself permission to be self-taught, to be self-empowered, to be self-sufficient in my faith, in my knowing that the goddess energy represented my power to create, creation as a whole, my power as a woman, my power as a mother, my power as a mama bear, my power of freedom of speech, creativity. I got my notes, my identity, okay, my standards, my boundaries, my requirements, my body. Let's talk about body. An individuality that is needed to secure yourself in these times, because we have a lot of noise and a lot of suggestions from social media, magazines, of a beauty standard, of a seemingly separate world of what some women can enjoy and obtain while others cannot, or other women are meant to be the mules and the workhorses in the backs of, we're in service industries. We are grinding it out. We are bosses. We are hustling, versus being in our soft era in every sense of the way. The soft life is not just an aesthetic. The soft life is not just a mood board, a vision board, and getting your nails done and getting your feet done. The soft life is an embodiment of the goddess energy, because the goddess energy is being in your power that makes you woman. And that does not require you to be slaving away for somebody. That does not require you to be hemming and hawing with the dead in relationship. That does not require you to be second, bottom, unheard, unseen, unrecognized, unsupported, underneath all of these rules and regulations, underneath a capped income, a capped salary. Come on now, let's talk about it. Women are, not paid the same. Okay, well then stop depending on them to give you what you're worth. Create your own, or require more if you're with someone. This is the goddess energy. The goddess energy also calls us to embrace all of our feelings, the good and the bad. And I don't even want to say bad, because it's just powerful. It's just, I have something to say, and you will not shut me down. You will not disregard me. You will not do any of those things other than listen and watch and see what it is I'm about to lay down, or what it is I'm about to do. We know stories, and when you dive into the stories of different goddesses, they have so many different layers to their personality. They have so many different stories that call us to say, okay, so it is okay to handle business. It is okay to let somebody know, no, that's not what we finna do. It is okay to stir some things up to get the results that we need and be respected and revered as we should, because you thought you could try me because I was a woman. You thought you could try me because I'm 4'11". and I'm 115 pounds. You thought, but you are mistaken. That is the goddess energy. The goddess energy also calls us to step into a sense of bravery and kindness and gentleness and nurturing when it is necessary, when it is deserved and earned. Okay? Reading stories about different goddesses, because I don't think it's just, you could start with the culture or, what ties to your ancestry. Sorry, that phone's ringing. You could tie it to that, but you could also explore all the stories of different goddesses, because we as women are more universal than I think a lot of people know. And I'll give that example tying into my Easter video. I shared how I bought a Kuan Yin goddess statue. I was in Goodwill looking for globes for my mother's birthday celebration. I needed these, to make these flower arrangements. And that statue just took my breath away. I thought it was so beautiful. I couldn't tell if it was like this frosted glass or if it was a giant crystal, but needless to say, I bought it. I didn't know what it was, but I had to have it. I brought it home and I scrubbed. It was really dusty, so I scrubbed her up and I set her on my dresser. This was right after November, December. I moved in late December. Yeah, I moved in late December, early December, somewhere around in there. So from that time frame to now, when I tell you, when I looked into the research behind, who she was, her story, what she represented, what her powers are, that was so in sync what was going on with my life. And there were situations where this should have happened, that should have happened, but it didn't. It did not, because I had made it a point to focus on her and thank her for coming into my life in such a random way. And I truly believe that she was so instrumental in protecting me in a lot of legal things that I was going through, and a lot of things that were just a hot mess, but I couldn't explain how I was able to walk away. Not that I don't think I'm deserving, not that I don't think that I'm protected and highly favored and God's child, so to speak, but how is it that I pick up a statue that turns out to be a goddess that represents all of these things that mirror what I'm going through in my life? Okay? You cannot make this stuff up. Okay? Then we have, if you are of West African descent, the Orishas. That is no secret. And what they embody, what they represent. So finding the goddess that really draws out your personality and the things that you are drawn to, and all those things that also gave me a certain piece about who I am as a person, being okay with being authentic, being okay with showing up as my real self, and not feeling like I need to do something that is unnatural to me to validate me. And that is what the goddess energy has continued to show me in my life. Has it been easy? Yes and no. I will use my grandmother as an example. She always used to, don't forget God. And I would love if you came to church with me. Not that it was like an elephant in the room kind of thing, but there were so many times where I wanted to tell her, I feel closer to God than ever before because I feel like God is more woman. I've learned that there is a duality that, I can now see myself in God. And so how can I forget God? How can I forget my source? How can I forget where I come from and who birthed me and everything that we see? How can I forget that? How can I feel so abundant and blessed and protected and at peace if this was wrong and this wasn't for me? If this path was so dark and demonic and opening yourself up to spirits that will disguise you and trick you and all these things. I am still prospering. Okay, so how is that? How is it that I can find what it was that was missing when I was a so-called Christian, when I was a so-called, you know, um, part of the problem of the fall of man, and my period and my labor pains were punishment, when it was like, no, my body's the way my body is because I was designed to create life. And nothing can be birthed without a a process that is going to test you and apply a little pressure and a little grit. It's not a punishment. It's not a punishment. But someone can say that to you if they don't like you. Someone will try to make you feel like everything about you is wrong because it's foreign to them. And so when I pulled away from the community in a sense and focused on my individuality, and I drew inward alone in the darkness of my thoughts to say, what is it that I want to do? How is it that I want to live? How is it that I want to worship and feel and be? And this feels right to me. That is me giving myself permission. I don't need a pastor or a reverend or a bishop or a deacon or a whatever to show me the way, show me how to be a woman, show me how to feel loved, show me how to be my best self, show me how to find God, because that's not their responsibility. And a lot of times they don't know you. They don't know me. I'm not going to try to get to know them. I'm not going to try to, go up there every week, once a week, twice, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week to be validated, to be seen in some way, to look outside of myself, to pray begging to something that feels foreign to me. The goddess energy calls us to feel like we are enough and that we are capable and that we are powerful and that we can do anything a man can do, if not better. Now, that is not a competition. That is not a slight to men. But if need be, it can get done. Now, do I appreciate the men that come into my life that recognize that I am in my feminine and that I do not want to do it all? Absolutely. I appreciate the balance. I appreciate the duality even in that. But see, when it comes down to duality, it doesn't mean that I then lose my voice. It doesn't mean that I am now only his wife and I am in the shadows and I walk behind him. That is not the goddess energy. A goddess rules. A goddess can also make waves and also destroy and create. Okay? So I hear my kids coming back because they're ready to go to the pool. We're at 23 minutes and make sure I didn't forget anything. So just to reiterate, if you are feeling guilt, confusion, and suppression, you may be in a spiritual state of like, you need to explore what it is that is best for you. And it is not anyone's job to say there is only one way. It is not anyone else's job to say if you choose this, you're wrong. I'm not saying that. My issue in my life with structured religion was that it did not empower me. It made me question and feel more confused than anything else. And last thing about religion, if you don't see yourself in your practice and in your faith and in your spirituality and your traditions, I think there's something wrong with that. If they don't bring women to the table, if women don't have a voice, if women are not in control, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. And we know, and I know Christianity has come a long way. There are women pastors, there are husband and wife power couples and all that stuff. But again, I think about the basis of a lot of the things that the Bible still regurgitates that didn't make me feel good. Okay? And so I'm gonna go now. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps someone out there. Good luck to you. You know, this is, oh, last point. The craft, spirituality, the goddess energy calls you to search your heart, to be your own guide, and to find the signs through nature around you that are for you. Okay, we're never on the same path, but we're having similar experiences in the sense of finding that liberation, if that makes sense. And that is the beauty of it all. That is the thread that keeps us connected. Creating what it is that you need in your life that empowers you. So, like I said, for the third time, goodbye. Thank you. And until the next one, peace. Bye.